Monster Hunter just revealed that there is going to be a second open beta test, and there's actually going to be 2 of them, even though they call it OBT2. So we're going to go through the announcement. I'm going to read it out for you in English as Ryozo Tsujimoto is actually reading it out in Japanese. And then we will get into some of the details that you might not know about with this that are really important in case you did or didn't play in the open beta 1. There were some issues there, and we need to talk about some of that in this video today. So let's jump straight into it. He starts off, he's opening up, he's playing the game. It looks like he's doing a DualShock 5. I don't know if he's actually using a PlayStation 5. He's doing the character creator and everything. He's having fun, but it's actually such a great opener to this video. I absolutely love it. Basically, he says he thinks his character looks good, and I think it looks just like him, to be honest. He actually nailed the side-by-side here. I hope you like that. It's so funny. He says finished. His character's right there, and he's getting into it. Actually, it's uncanny how much it looks like him. I don't know if we're actually going to be playing through the same story mission again, but later on he does mention, I think you continue on your progress from OBT1, and they've added a little bit of content as well, so we'll get to that in just a minute. He says, oh no, ouch, he didn't know he would take damage there. He's just playing through the game. We might be able to skip past this part. He says it's really bright, but it looks like that's because he's fighting off against something whose name I've completely forgotten. It's going to pop up on the screen in a minute here, but it has flashing bright lights that it shoots at you. Its name is there in Japanese. My Japanese is very rusty. There was an O in there somewhere. But the second open beta test is confirmed, and a new monster is joining the ranks for this beta test. He says in the second open beta text, Gypsaros, you'll be able to hunt them, a returning monster from the series. I knew I'd seen it before, and basically here are the dates for it right here. It's going to be Thursday, February 6th, 7 p.m. To 9th, 7 p.m. as well on the Sunday, PT time, so Pacific time. There is going to be a second one, so it's on 2 separate weekends. It is on the February 13th through February 16th, 7 to 7 p.m. as well. So a Friday through the Sunday. So really exciting here. We are going to get a second open beta test, but there is more information on this that you need to know. We'll get to that in just a minute. And there were some other monster reveals as well that I want to briefly talk to you about today. So like before, we have character creation and then the story trial, as well as the Slay Doshiguma quest, just like an open beta 1. This is pretty much the same thing running it back. In addition, including to the first beta round, you'll be able to hunt Gypsaros, so be sure to check it out. Loving it great here. For the second beta, you can carry over the character that you made in the first round, and the data can also be transferred into the full game, as far as the character you create. Please note that game progress itself will not transfer into the full game, so you can kill 1,000 Doshigumas and it won't matter. Everyone who takes part will actually get these special trinkets that can be redeemed in the full game, a decorative charm for the Psychrote, and an item pack, both of which can be redeemed in the full game. Here are the details of when you can take part. Please do not miss it. It also says here that we've heard from many of you that you missed the chance to take part in the first beta, or that you wanted to play again, which is why we've decided to have a second beta. He also says that in the meantime, the team is working hard on finishing development on the full game. This includes various adjustments and improvements, and it also says here that the details of improvements being made to the full game can be found on our website and social channel. But he hopes that we can understand that this means that those improvements won't be ready to make it into the second beta test. This is what I covered in my video the other day. Even if they do a beta test, it might not necessarily live up to what they are working on already improving for the main launch of the game. I'm going to get more into that in just a moment. Here's to a great 2025 with Monster Hunter Wilds. And then after that, he says happy hunting, and then they just post the details all over again. You can pre-order the game on Steam and all the rest of it, and you get the stuffed feline teddy, which I think is actually adorable. I have to play this. Pendant as a bonus item. So, what am I talking about here? Okay, and that's where we're going to get into this post here by Jono. And he says that please be aware of this important note from the post. Improvements covered in the pre-launch community update, including performance, game balance, weapon mechanics, known issues, and more, will not be reflected in OBT2. So like we said in the previous video, you're not going to get those updates to the hammer not knocking people in the air. You're not going to get all the new moves for the lance and the insect glaive. You're not going to get the updates to the sword and shield. I mean, some of that might be there. I have no idea. But do not expect it to be there. It's probably not going to be there for the final edition. And the bow will be OP, even before its nerf is coming, still in the beta, so I'll definitely be messing around with that. We're probably trying out all of the different weapons. I'm very excited for this. So why that's important is because the minimum spec was something that was of high contention in the previous beta. So for anyone who's unaware, the very minimum spec where you can play on 1080p upscaled from 720 at 30 FPS on the lowest graphics is actually 1660 and a pretty solid i5 processor here. So like you really need like a juicy hardware to be able to even run this on really crappy settings. It's gonna make the game look like shit, to be quite frank. And the recommended settings are even like a GeForce RTX 2070. A lot of people had complaints on this front from the first open beta test where they said the performance wasn't great, even on the PlayStation and things like that. They've fixed all the PlayStation issues. Now, I don't know if those fixes are going to come through in this beta. I'm hoping that is the one thing that they implement, but it's seeming like it's not really going to be that way. And so if you played it on the PS4 or PS5 or whatever before and you had a lot of trouble with the game, you're probably going to have that same trouble again. Keep that in mind. The main game is probably going to be much better, and they're probably going to have demos and things so you can test it out before you even buy the full game. All of that being said, like I mentioned in the previous video, they are probably going to try and get these specs down. They're doing a ton of optimization and performance improvements that should actually lower these specs significantly. Now, I know the Steam Deck has probably been having trouble with this game, but I'm hoping with those adjustments, it will be highly playable on the Steam Deck, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where that takes it. But for now, it's probably not going to work that great on lower end PCs. It's probably not going to work that great on the Steam Deck. I know my brother has a lower end PC and he was having a lot of trouble with this game, but it will be fixed for the main game launch. So you need to keep all of that in consideration. Okay, it wasn't super explicit in that video. They did kind of say it in an offhand comment, but it's not that obvious. You need to be aware of that. That is the big thing. But you will be able to find gypsy roads. I don't know why you want to find an old monster, but you can. The other thing that happened this week is we got 2 reveals from IGN. I'm not going to show you full videos or anything like that, but I'm going to show you a little bit of detail. So these are really cool videos. First up, we've got the Rompopolo, and this is actually featured in the in the oil well basin, which is a brand new biome. I don't believe is covered in the main game, in the beta zone. Okay, so absolutely loving this zone. This thing is some sort of like giant mosquito mixed with like a leech. It shoots out poison gas and things like that. I think you can actually ignite the gas as well. It's got a lot of really interesting attacks. It's similar to some other monsters, I think, but overall pretty cool. It's also really dark. Like its entire body is like a really dark gray, kind of a little bit of spots of blue there. But in like darker caverns and things like in this video right here, it's actually going to be a little bit hard to spot just on a glance. So it's going to be really interesting there. And I think, I don't think it's going to be the most fun fight in the world. I think it's going to be good, fun, interesting. But it's not like the greatest monster I've ever seen or anything like that. I do really like its tail. It gives me such mosquito vibes. I can't get over it. And it's like eye things that it has. I don't know. I think it looks really cool. But it's quite a small monster. I'm really keen on the giant monsters like your Devil Joes and things like that. So that's just me. But I think it's going to be a really fun fight. This other reveal is actually really, really cool. And this thing is called an Ajarakan. Okay, an Ajarakan. It seems to light like giant spikes on its back on fire, shoots lava off into the ground that seems to stay there for a little bit. It's a bit persistent, so you can't just walk over it. There's flames everywhere. This is going to be a sick fight. Like he's got very ape-like movements combined with a little bit of like some Baroth kind of attacks as well. He looks really cool, and I love how all of his attacks have like a secondary layer to them. Like he'll swipe his hand at you and then lava will explode from the ground. So he's going to either hit you once from the lava if you manage to dodge the first attack, or hit you twice. So You really got to keep your distance from this thing or just play around the attacks a lot more than you normally would with like a single strike or a double tap or something like that. The delayed response does give me vibes of like Itadori's attack in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's so funny. All right, so this monster is really, really cool. I'm very excited to fight this one. This entire zone, we can't really see much of it here, so I'm not necessarily excited for it, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I really like how there's like oil falling from all the stalactites and stuff in the sky over time, and there seems to be ways you can interact with it as well. This zone here is kind of like a lava cavern sort of thing. This is much more fitting for this monster. I actually really, if you haven't watched these videos yet, they're about 9 minutes each. They do cut between and stuff, so it's not a 9-minute fight, I don't think. Looks like they've cut it down, but the fights look really fun. I highly recommend jumping into those videos, checking them out, and just giving them a like, dropping a comment. If you like these monsters, let me know, please. If you want to watch more content, I have heaps more details about all the changes coming to the game that aren't necessarily going to be in the open beta test too. Happy hunting, guys. February 6th, February 13th. Have a good one.